you doing, guys? In the 6 years I've been out here, the one thing I've never explained was why I hate predators so much. This didn't just happen when I was a JW, when I found out what was going on in the organization, because I have hated predators, sexual predators, long before I was ever a JW. And when I found out just how many were in the organization and it was being swept under the rug, I couldn't get out of there fast enough because I did not want to be associated with this kind of garbage. Now, this goes back some decades, many decades, as a matter of fact. I used to work in a factory some years back, and the average year-round temperature in there was about 130, 135 degrees year-round. I hung out with a bad group of guys. We were the meanest sons of bitches walking. As a matter of fact, several of us had broken into the wrestling business around that time as well. Although we were the meanest guys walking, nobody would mess with us, we were not the most dangerous. We had one guy that used to work by the trash compactor. Very questionable. A lot of stories going on around about him. The one thing we did know, he was a peeping Tom. He used to like to peer through people's windows. He was caught several times. There was another time he had mutilated somebody's dog. And he had attempted molesting a little girl at one point. He did some time. More so in a nut house than he did in jail. Supposedly, he was rehabilitated. Now, we all knew the stories, and we all kept an eye on him. The unfortunate thing was every so often, now, the shift I worked was a split shift. Now, the guys and I, we all worked from 3 to 11. But since it was the middle shift, from 3 to 7, a lot of the high school kids would work there. From 7 to 11, a lot of the bored housewives would work there. This dirtbag would sneak on out. And he was a little bit of age. He was, I believe at the time, in his late 30s, possibly early 40s. Would be talking and flirting with the high school girls. Now, he freaked them out. They really didn't want any part of him, but they weren't mean to him. But on occasion, we'd see him. When we'd see the look on the girls' faces, we'd move them along. I had befriended a young girl there who was, how do I say, mentally challenged. Not overly, but it was obvious she had certain learning disabilities. She kind of clung to me for some reason, so I kind of watched over her. On occasion, I'd pick her up, give her a ride to work. Now, we were speaking for about a year. She was very bubbly, very happy, very fun to be around. Now, there was one day, something I didn't realize, that this idiot of the trash compactor saw her walking one day, picked her up. That's all I'm going to say at this point. She came in from work one day, and I asked her what was going on. She was no look on her face, no expression. She says, "I don't want to talk now." This went on for a few days. She wasn't speaking. I finally wanted to know, and I said, "Would you talk to me?" She finally told me what happened. The trash compactor dude had picked her up. Now, she was also very gullible and overly trusting. He proceeded to drive behind a building and raped her. She finally told me this. I said, "Have you called the police?" And she said, "Yes, but they said there's not a case." They spoke to him. He said it was consensual. I said it wasn't. Things were very different at that time. Police claimed there was no case. She didn't know what to do. And he started bragging about it around work, that he had had sex with her, and I was irate. Now, her father was a very strict Baptist minister who used to preach forgiveness all the time. When he found out about this, he was irate. He asked his daughter to pack her bags and moved out. Well, she couldn't handle that. The next day came, she wasn't in work. I figured maybe she called in sick. Maybe she just couldn't handle it. I found out there was a no call. No call, no show, which was not like her. Found out later, the one person she went to for help, her own father, that she should have been able to count on, turned his back on her. The guy that used to preach forgiveness, would forgive everybody else, but not his own daughter, who had been ruined by this pervert. Well, she was found. She got a hold of some pills and she overdosed. A young girl barely in her 20s. Her life was ruined by this fucking predator. Well, for those first few days, he was bragging about having sex with her, till he found out what happened. Then a few of us cornered him. Then he denied having any relations with her. Well, the bosses pulled us aside. Just leave it alone. Let the police handle it. We figured the police weren't handling it. We were always told that this son of a bitch was rehabilitated. He was a new man. We found out pretty quickly you can't rehabilitate garbage like that. Well, the police did nothing about it. They claimed there was no case. They claimed she was overly depressed, so she committed suicide. Questions were asked, but no charges were ever filed. The only thing I want to say is, Vinny did take care of it. And that's all I'm going to say. What got me is the person that preached forgiveness. And management telling us this guy was rehabilitated. You've got to overlook his past. What happened, happened. It's over and done with. He's a new person. We have to give him another chance. Well, look what happened when he was given another chance. We were not told exactly how dangerous this person was, but we had to overlook his past. Now, I mention this because I think most of you know we have had a predator among us some time ago. I played a video on my channel yesterday. Some of you have seen it. I've played it before. And I opted to play it one more time. Now, this person, some 4 years ago, confessed that he had sexually molested his brother. I believe it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, he came out and said he made the story up. Why would somebody do that? I don't know. But I'm not going to get into that. But the one thing I do want to get into, maybe he didn't molest his brother. Should he be given a chance? Well, there's plenty of room on YouTube for us all. Maybe he didn't molest his brother. Say he didn't. Okay. We'll put that on the back burner. But the one thing you can't deny is the number of women that you have harassed and stalked since you found your way into this community. And it's a little bit more than a few. And it was a little bit hotter than pestered, like you referred to. No, you hardcore stalked many women, because I spoke to many of them over the phone. You freaked many of them out. The worst thing is, some of them were married. One of them helped you out financially. And behind her husband's back, you propositioned her for sex. And you've done that to many. You freaked out a lot of people. But that's all I'm going to say about you. But I want to direct my comments to you, Serenity. Because I haven't forgotten the comments you put on my channel about 2 years ago with your pretty talk, trying to sweet talk me into, oh, forgive him, forgive him, forgive him. And to get me to take the videos down on this subject. Well, as you can see, I haven't. And your pretty talk didn't change my mind. But I want to say one thing. I think you're mixing up forgiveness with stupidity. See, just because you can forgive somebody doesn't mean you have to let them back in. You can forgive somebody. It doesn't mean you have to become a victim. You can forgive somebody, you don't have to stay in harm's way. And I'm sorry, even if you forgive somebody, it doesn't mean you have to idly sit by while other people could be potential victims. You see, right now he's looking for a new audience. This will be like the 5th time he has tried this. Now you're side by side with him, saying everybody he's a nice guy. So you don't go back as far as the rest of us do with this. But keep in mind, you're doing one thing. You're getting everybody's guard down to be the next potential victims. And think about one thing. If anything happens to any one of them, you are accountable for that as well. See, the one thing about you don't realize, he doesn't feel accountable for anything he does. He justifies everything he does, everything he says. He never takes the blame to himself. He blames outside interference for everything he does. And this is what we're dealing with. And he's come back a bit again. He has no accountability for anything he does, and he never did. He's okay with that. He does not have the right mind. He never grew up. And the funny thing is, you, he, myself, we came out of an organization that was hiding things like this. How can you be involved with something like this? Do you even know how dangerous he is? You may talk to him and say, oh, he's a changed person. He's rehabilitated. He's a really nice guy. Well, he's got you buffaloed too. Because like I said before, the people who claim to be the nice guys are dangerous as all hell. You might want to rethink who you're associating with, because he is a piece of trash. And people can say live and let live, because I've heard it all. Every time I put out a video on him, I have heard it all. Live and let live. You've got to learn to forgive. Don't get involved with this. Well, as far as the comment, live and let live. Okay, that girl I knew in the factory some years ago, predator like that, didn't let her live. Look what happened. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to say. I'll be talking to you soon.